So, the controversial debate over whether we should have more trad wives or more working moms in our society ultimately boils down to the question of whether women can have it all, or if we're kidding ourselves into thinking that we can or even should try to balance all of our aspirations, both in and outside of the home. In this video, I'll share my perspectives on this debate as both a part-time working mom and couples therapist who's worked with all types of couples and women. I'm Cameron, and this is my channel, Modern Marriage, where I share all the tips, resources, and insights that I've gathered from working with couples in therapy so that you can start building the relationship that you've always wanted. So let's start off by defining what it means when someone says having it all. For the average person thinking about the different lifestyles and priorities available to women today, having it all typically means balancing a fulfilling career, not just a job, with a stable, loving, and healthy home life, including a marriage and children. I'll also add that it's important to consider a woman's physical and mental health as part of this equation, since most people would agree that a woman's success at home or at work is not only muted, but unsustainable if she's spread so thin or limited so much that her physical or mental health start to suffer. So we've essentially got work, marriage, kids, and health to think about balancing as a woman if you're striving to have it all. On one side of the spectrum, trad wives or stay-at-home moms are usually women who either prefer not to work or believe that non-domestic work will detract from their ability to be as good of mothers and wives as they would otherwise be. And on the other side are women who work full-time while also having kids. Often this debate is positioned as a discussion about what will make women most happy, staying at home with their kids or having kids and a career at the same time. However, I think this is where the crux of my issue with this debate stems from. Of course, we want women to be healthy and we want their lives to be filled with joy and meaning, for their own sakes, but also for the sakes of their families who benefit from having a well-adjusted wife and mother. However, this goal of maximizing happiness for women ignores the reality of what it means for women and their husbands to try to balance their personal and professional lives once they have kids. Happiness is ultimately a very slippery concept. If we define happiness as maximizing our positive emotions and minimizing our negative ones, which by the way is how psychologists think about happiness, then there are a lot of things that would make me happy in the moment that are also bad for me and my loved ones in the long run. For example, it might increase my positive emotions in the moment more if I chose to, say, eat junk food and watch reality dating shows on Netflix, and then make my husband deal with my toddler's temper tantrums on his own. However, if I make a habit of prioritizing my own emotions over what's best for my family, my kids would eventually starve and my marriage would really suffer. And even when viewed on a broader scale, people of all different lifestyle choices report a mix of positive and negative emotions. For example, stay-at-home moms who love their kids still report being pretty stressed out with their daily responsibilities, while working moms are also often stressed at having to juggle essentially 2 full-time jobs. Life is a game of trade-offs. There is no winning hand that ensures we'll be happy most of the time just because we chose that specific lifestyle. And I think most women, at least moms, totally get this. When deciding how to balance their responsibilities at work and at home, I believe most women decide based more on necessity, like if their family needs a second income to pay the bills, and their priorities, rather than on purely what it is that they would want to do. So this debate should be a lot less about what would make women happy and be more about what our priorities should be once we have kids. So if that's the case, then how should we rank the importance of our marriages and our kids and our careers in a way that doesn't jeopardize our health? From what I've seen in my personal and professional life, under the best circumstances, women are able to excel in just 2 out of the 3 of these areas, with a participation ribbon in the 3rd. In other words, it seems that we have to pick 2 of the 3 between our marriage, kids, and career to be excellent in, while participating some or not at all in the 3rd. Women who try to excel in all 3 of these areas at the same time usually end up sacrificing their health and how well they show up at work and at home. So for women who have a choice, Which two of these three areas should we prioritize above the third? I'll give you my thoughts in just a minute, but before I do, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and share this video with someone who you think might benefit from it. In my experience, I've learned that when you have kids, the marriage and your kids have to come first. This became crystal clear to me as soon as I got pregnant with our first child. There are a lot of people who can do my job. There are thousands of couples therapists in the US alone, and a lot of people make relationship content online. However, my children only have one mom. So I'm the only person who can do my job as their mother and my job as my husband's wife. Not to mention, children are in a way more fragile state when they're young than pretty much anyone else in society. My kids need me as their mother far more than anyone else in the world needs me right now. And that means that my job as their mom and as a wife to help maintain my marriage with my husband as the foundation of our home is far more important than any other job that I could have. And that's why personally, while my kids are still young, I've chosen to prioritize my roles as wife and as mother while only participating in my career. But I'm not going to pretend like that decision hasn't been hard sometimes. I actually find my work as a therapist relaxing, at least compared to mothering small children. And I really love being a therapist. But what good is an illustrious career if you sacrifice your children in order to get that success? Your children who were literally entrusted to you by God. This deprioritization of our children is why so many kids grow up with mental illness and criminal records and serious trouble forming secure adult relationships. So particularly for people like me whose work is focused on solving society's problems, perhaps the biggest impact we can actually have on helping the next generation is to raise our kids well. So does this mean that women should just give up on their dreams of having stellar careers if they choose to have kids? Definitely not. I know I haven't. It only means that the idea that we can go 100% into our work and family life at the same time is a lie. But the alternative that we don't talk about enough is how to prioritize our kids when they need us most, then prioritize our work more later on once our kids are older. How great would it be if we normalized a professional pipeline where women either work on a limited basis or not at all when their kids are young, then dive deeper into their careers or continue their education once their children are in school? That's my plan anyway. And if we could promote this sort of life trajectory as a viable option, it seems to me that more women would make the choice to have kids younger and invest in their roles as wives and mothers without having to completely sacrifice their dreams of professional success outside of the home. It doesn't have to be a never, just a not yet. Of course, there's no one-size-fits-all scenario for every woman, and not every woman has a choice. A lot of women have families who need the second income, or they're struggling to have children. But regardless of your situation, the most important thing for a woman to do when thinking about how to balance work and family life is really to find a husband who shares her values and priorities so that they can prepare well for the future they want to have together. The research is really clear that the best predictor for how good of a mother any woman can be is whether she has a supportive, capable, and loving husband or not. Only then will you have the support you need to be as successful as possible, both in and out of the home. Okay, guys, what do you think? Does this align with your experiences of balancing motherhood and work? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And until next time, I'm Cameron, and this is Modern Marriage.